Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining this webinar. I am so thrilled to be doing this with you. I think we're going to have an incredible time together. I've pulled together all of the top information from the 80 experts that we had the opportunity to connect with through the Real Skinny on Fat. And I'm also going to take tons of time at the end of this webinar to answer your questions. And by the way, I want to thank you so much for sending in hundreds and hundreds of questions. My entire team has been working through them, and we just love each and every one of them. They're very, very meaningful. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Naomi Webi. I am a New York Times bestselling author, and I had the privilege of being the host of the Real Skinny on Fat. So I don't typically do webinars, right? But for me, this information that we all had the opportunity to gather from the Real Skinny on Fat is so powerful. It's transformed my life and thousands of other people's lives, that what I wanted to do was take the opportunity for us to come together and really connect the dots and incorporate the best and most incredible parts of the entire docuseries. So when I had that opportunity to interview more than 80 people, right? It took hours and hundreds of hours. But what I loved so much about it, and I believe you did as well, is we were able to cherry pick the experts for their areas of research, and many of them have been researching ketogenics, fasting, autophagy, all of these important topics that relate to our health for their entire lifetimes, right? So this is how they've spent their careers. And to be able to spend an hour or two with them and really gather their most important discoveries and what has changed all of their patients' lives and the research that they've done was a humbling experience. And I think being able to clear the path for all of you from what we've learned together is why I'm really doing this event tonight and why I'm so excited to be sharing with you. So you might be asking, who is this webinar for? Why is Naomi doing this? Why are we sharing this together? And I took a long time to think about who the docuseries could impact the most and how we could condense that information to have lasting impact on our own lives. So what I got from the docuseries, The Real Skinny on Fat, was a total transformation, and we're going to talk a little bit about it. But for those of you that are the sandwiched person, and what I mean by a sandwich person is somebody who is giving to everyone around them. So you may be taking care of one of your parents. You may be taking care of children. You may be in that middle where you're not giving yourself the opportunity to really be healthy and vibrant. So if that's you, then this is exactly what I believe you're going to really benefit from. If you're someone who feels tired and you may have tried every single lifestyle program out there or every single quick fix to help you reduce the weight that you may have been carrying around for most of your life, then this program is also for you. It's going to help all of us get to the root cause of what might be creating that excess toxic weight that's been with us for many years, right? So for those of you that, again, have tried every lifestyle, have tried every quick fix, it hasn't worked, you're tired, you don't even want to address it anymore, let's pay attention because this could be for you. If you're feeling sluggish, fatigued, if you feel like you've gone down every single rabbit hole and you literally do not know what it is that you're looking for, but you know that there has to be an answer, then this webinar is definitely for you. If you're feeling overwhelmed, you may feel this low-grade anxiety every single day. It's almost a little bit of that fight or flight. And again, you don't know why you're feeling that, but it's low-grade stress and anxiety, then this program is definitely for you to listen to. And if you may be someone who knows exactly what you need to do, you may have had the expertise around you that could help you, but you're just not doing it. Well, I totally understand that, because a lot of times that's been me in my life, and this program is for you. And what I'm also going to speak about is the really interesting and mind-blowing information that Dominic D'Agostino shared with us in episode 1, and that's this idea that there is a fourth macronutrient. So you may have heard me even talk about it. And the reason I get so passionate about this idea is we know that we have many macronutrients. So we've got 3 macronutrients that we incorporate to provide energy to our body every single day. We've got protein, we've got fat, and we've got carbohydrates. But understanding that we have these ketone bodies that we naturally produce in our own body, and they are a clean fuel that provide our brain and our body this powerful, focused energy that can really help us to heal inflammation and so many other things. And all we have to do is allow our body to utilize these ketones. And in many cases, we want to be able to produce more. Then understanding that they are the fourth macronutrient is, again, something that can completely transform that experience that you have in life and the way that you experience life. So I can't wait to talk to you a little bit more about it. And I'm going to be answering, as I mentioned, all of your questions at the end of the program. So I want to share with you a little bit about my own journey and why this product of body of information that we've had through the docuseries has had such a tremendous impact on me. A lot of you know that I suffer from autoimmune disorders. I've suffered my entire life from them. And I remember when I was getting ready to go to the spring dance, I was just a teenager, an early teen, and I was really excited because I knew that this spring dance was going to be the time when the boy of my dreams was going to invite me. And I also believed, and this sounds a little bit cheesy, but I genuinely believed it. You know what it's like to be a teenager, that I would probably go on to marry him. And I was so excited about my future. And so as I was getting ready for that experience of this spring dance, it was also the time when my mother said to me that I didn't need to feel so shy and ashamed of the way that my skin looked. You know, I suffered from so much eczema growing up that it would literally cover my skin, my arms, my legs, so much of my body, my hands. It would reflect on my face because of the inflammation that it would cause, and it would oftentimes bleed and it would pus. And I had deep, deep, deep shame around it. And so I would cover myself, and you would never see any of my legs or my arms. I would just always cover myself, and I would actually prevent myself from experiencing so many of the activities that my friends would do. So I wouldn't go to the pool with my friends. I wouldn't be in environments where I would have to expose myself because of the shame that I felt. And I also just didn't want to be such an outsider. And so that year, that springtime, my mother said to me, you know, honey, you have your friends. They're your good friends. They love you for who you are on the inside. There's nothing wrong with you wearing shorts and a t-shirt. And you should. It's hot outside. You don't want to have to be constantly covered up. And the other problem with being constantly covered up for me was that I actually struggle to manage my temperature. So as I was constantly covered up, I would be getting overheated. And so I agreed with her, and I did that. And I remember, I'll never forget this day because it was a turning point in my life. But I went to school that day, and I was in shorts and a t-shirt, and this boy looked at me, as did my other friends, and nothing was said. But I didn't go to the spring prom with him. He actually took my best friend instead. I went with my girlfriends, and I made a decision in that moment that I didn't care what I needed to do. I was going to get rid of that eczema. And it's really ironic because I grew up as a child I was born in Switzerland, and I grew up on what's called a biodynamic farm. So my father's a chemist. My mother was totally committed to everything that was put into my body, on my body, being natural so that I could really help to reduce this inflammation. I ate an anti-inflammatory diet. We did all these things, and yet I couldn't push down or remove the root cause of this eczema. And so it was an ironic situation. But after that turning moment in my life, when my emotions were smashed, and I'm sure you've had those feelings of just total disbelief and sadness about the way a situation comes about, and you really have no control over it. So when that happened, I said, I'm going to let go of all of the ways that I've grown up doing things, and I'm going to go to a conventional doctor, and I'm going to do conventional things to get rid of this eczema. And so I used steroids. I used products that were inside of the black box that had the warnings, and I tried everything under the sun to just really suppress that autoimmune disorder that I was suffering from. And it kind of worked, right? Like, it didn't fully work. And the side effects were such that I went back to the ways of how I had grown up with natural ingredients and natural products. And when I was in my early 20s, I went to a Chinese medical doctor who did acupuncture, and he helped me use these natural little Chinese herbs. So many of you may have used these. They're like little tiny black pellets, and you take a large number of them every single day. So I used these Chinese herbs. I took these herbal baths. I was able to, over the course of a year and a half, help to remove the blood stagnation, as the Chinese medical doctor called it. And these were protocols that have been used for thousands of years. So I really started to transform my own body. And it was like an onion that was peeling back, peeling out the eczema. And over the course of this year and a half, I took these Chinese herbs. I did acupuncture once a week. I did all of these different things. I was in a place where about 95% of the eczema was removed. Now, I still get a little bit of it, and like I said, probably only about 4 or 5%. And I have little mini flare-ups, but nothing compared to what I had experienced. So I was so happy and so relieved. I felt like I was at this entirely new place in my life. And as my story continues, I was getting ready to have my first child. My husband and I were very, very excited. And we went through what I always sort of looked at as a whole array of different tests. So my doctor, Erickson, went through blood tests, he went through urine tests, he did all of these different analyses of how my health condition really was to make sure that I was ready to have a child. And I'll never forget going back to his office when he called me and said, I want you to come in, I want to go over the results with you. I thought it was a little weird. I remember sitting in his conference room, sort of waiting for him outside of the waiting area, because we were very good friends, and I was looking forward to spending this time with him and doing a deep dive into my well-being. And when we sat down in his office, he pulled out my records and he said, Naomi, you have no business getting pregnant right now. You have very high heavy metal contamination. You've poisoned your body in some way, and I can't figure out what it is because of the healthy diet that you eat, the exercise you do, all of the things that you're committed to for your own health. And we sat there and we worked through my history, and there was this aha moment when he said, it has to be those Chinese herbs that you took. And I thought, how could that be? How could something have healed my body and in turn poisoned me? And what it was it had everything to do with the way that those ingredients were processed and the contamination that was in them. And that was the second time in my life when I had this huge aha moment. And while I felt really foolish, and I felt that I should have known better, and I would never, ever again in my life not have an understanding of where things came from, what their purity was, what it was that I was putting into my own mouth, and what it was that I was going to be putting into my family's mouth. And so at that moment in time, I took probably about a week or two to look at everything that was in my household and start to trace back where those things came from. And while it doesn't sound that interesting, for somebody like me, understanding that supply chain was absolutely everything, because it was a place where I had actually poisoned myself by not knowing. And while I felt foolish, I also felt like, who has the time to really do this kind of analysis? And it's so confusing, and there are so many foods and so many ingredients and so many things that can really hurt us that we don't even know about. And so a few years later, I was in the south of France. I was with my cousins. So one of my cousins, Dr. Eric Laforgue, and his wife Aude, and we were sitting there having an incredible dinner, right? And this dinner had lots of French red wines, so the Bordeaux wines, and we were eating a lot of the French cheeses, so these like triple cream brie cheeses, and so much delicious, incredibly exquisite food. And as we were sitting there, and it was about probably 9:30 or 10 p.m. at night, I was watching my cousins enjoy this delicious meal, and they were having more than one helping, and they weren't preventing themselves from enjoying the luxuries, the deliciousness, the decadence, the calories of this food. And we were just talking about how in the US here, how much we struggle and we deprive ourselves. And there's a word that many of you may have heard or saying, maybe it's like a phrase, that is something called joie de vivre. And this is a feeling of joy of life. And this is a big part of the French culture. And here we work so hard, we do so much, and yet we're depriving ourselves. We're not taking enough of the joie de vivre into our life. And so I said to my cousin, wouldn't it be so fun, wouldn't it be so rewarding if we could bring some of this magic sauce, really, this joie de vivre from France into the US market? What would that look like? And so at that dinner, we created my first company. And my company, Reservage Nutrition, was all about the red wine antioxidant and sourcing these powerful ingredients from organic and also biodynamic vineyards, and putting it into a nutritional supplement that would provide the highest quality and best resveratrol in the marketplace. And the journey to bring that product into the marketplace was really an interesting journey, because I had to go to the individual vintners and their farms and ask them. I remember the first time knocking on their door and saying, can I purchase all that's left over once you make the red wine, the white wine? And I got laughed at. And I said, well, you know, you are part French, but you're really definitely out there. What is this? What is going on? Why do you want this pumice, this leftover ingredient? And on top of it, while you want it, it's something that we sell to the government, because the government uses the pumice as a means to tax the vintners in order to know how many bottles of wine. So like 1 ton of this pumice equals X number of bottles of wine, and then the government knows how to tax the individual farms and the vineyards. I said, no, I need it because that's where the liquid gold is. That's where all the powerful antioxidants are that I need to be able to share with so many other people. And I need to purchase it from you. And so we were actually able to work out a deal with the local French government in the Bordeaux region, where I was able to source these powerful ingredients. And I knew the soil that it was coming from, and I knew the ingredient, and I was able to control the entire supply chain. And that was really, really important. So I would say there are many times during this entire process that I felt so overwhelmed. And there were many steps. And you know, for example, the process of getting something certified organic can be very, very challenging, because the way that the ingredients are processed is part of the organic process in and of itself. So it's not just about the quality of the ingredients, it's also about the type of equipment that's used and how it's used. And this was all the things that mattered to me. And I remember when I first was in Southeast Asia, and the women, and this was about 15 years ago, and the women were consuming high levels of collagen-rich food. So everything from eating chicken's feet to duck heads to the skin of whatever animal they would have in their bone broth, taking collagen supplements. And I did a little quick, check and analysis when I was over there, and I came home and I thought, wow, in Asia, women and men are consuming about 15 times as much collagen as we are. And that seems like a very unfair thing because we need collagen in our own bodies. And so I thought, how can I bring this incredible ingredient into the US market? Not wanting to bring it from the Asian market because of the lack of cleanliness over there. And so instead what I did was I started to go all over the world to find the pure, the pristine collagens. And a lot of times you'll hear that collagen comes from grass-fed. And so what does that really mean when it's grass-fed? Does that mean that the cow has been grass-fed for its entire life? Does it mean that it's just a few days of being grass-fed? And unless you go to the ranches and unless you take each step to look at the incredible process, you have no idea really what's going on and how those bones or the hide of the cow is being treated and what the quality of the collagen is. So these are the sort of things that matter to me personally, and these are the sort of things that I know matter to all of you. But the question is, how do we make sure that what it is that we're putting into our body to create better health is really what it says it is? And how do we know that we're not going through what it is that I went through with those little tiny Chinese herbs? And so my entire life has been dedicated to really finding the true answers. And that's why I have the privilege of being able to travel all over the world. I go to sources pretty much on a monthly basis. And the Real Skinny on Fat is an example of that. I traveled all over the place to meet with the top experts to understand from their mouth what it was that we need to know as a group to take our health to that next level. So that's really how it all got started for me. So I want to walk you through a couple of questions now that you've heard, my personal story and what it is that motivates me. And every morning when I wake up, these are the thoughts that I have on my mind. So I'm thinking about what it is that we're putting into our bodies, and then what it is behind what it is that we're putting into our bodies that really matters. So we all got very excited about MCT oil during this docu-series, and it's something that I give my own children, and my entire family takes it. But the nuance in how it's processed makes all the difference. So most MCT oil is actually processed through a very intense extraction where they're using some pretty aggressive chemicals to fractionate it. So unless you're getting an organic MCT oil, you're experiencing MCTs, which are so important for us in producing our ketone bodies, in a very different way, and you're actually putting more pressure on your body than you need to. So we're going to talk more about that in a little bit. But what I'd love for you to do right now is, if you could, get a pen and paper, and I want to ask you some questions. And while I'm asking you these questions, I would love for you to just write down the answers. And I think while you're getting this pen and paper, I'm going to give you just a little bit of time to grab it, that these questions could be very, very impactful and very, very transformative to you. So whenever you're ready, we're going to get started on these top questions. friends as I was going through the transformative experience of the documentary and the docuseries, The Real Skinny on Fat, because each time I had the opportunity to interview a different expert, I had to address and really look at the lingering effects of my autoimmune disorders and study them and connect with them in a different way, and then look to see if I was willing and actually able to struggle through the challenges that were holding me back. So a lot of people ask me, tell me a little bit about those struggles. And so I'm going to share one with you that is actually something that I kept as a secret, and I hid it from everybody in my world. But I actually also had such denial around it that I was hiding it from myself, which is a really weird element of it. And that is something that I still suffer from, a sugar addiction. So while I'm not feeding my sugar addiction anymore, I still feel those moments, those weak moments, when I am looking for a little bit of sugar. And it's pretty wild because I kept it hidden for so long. And I'm not just talking about like the carbohydrates. I'm really speaking about candy bars, tons of chocolate. I would joke that because I was born in Switzerland, and Switzerland has some of the best chocolate in the world, there was nothing wrong with me eating a whole bar of chocolate whenever I wanted, and my house was always filled with it. And, you know, loving ice cream and any kind of sugar. So sugar was, for an extended period of my life, my main source of calories. And I never really struggled with weight, but what I did and have always struggled with was the impact on my blood sugar, my mood swings, my crashes, and this addiction didn't begin until I moved to this country. And what happened was, about the time that I had that horrible experience of being rejected for that spring dance, was when I had just, moved to the country maybe a year and a half before, and I would walk home from school. And every day that I would walk home from school, I would go past the little convenience store. And so I would stop in there with my friends, and I would buy a candy bar every single day. And I would eat that candy bar on my way home. And so I started to build this addiction up, and I never thought much about it. And growing up, where I hadn't had a lot of sugar, my parents would, one day a week, when I was growing up in England, my dad would open up his desk and he would show me the little treats that he had, and it would be like carob, or it would be a little sesame snack, and I would get to pick one of those, and that was my entire treat for the week. So I didn't have a lot of sugar, but once I got this sugar addiction going, it would take over. It would totally take over me, and I could never break through it. And so when I started about a year and a half ago, really incorporating more and more good fat into my diet and removing a lot of the bad fats that are hidden in the foods that are like the processed foods that are throughout the candy bars that I was eating, there's so many bad fats in those sort of things. When I started to incorporate the good fats, I still was eating the sugar, and I couldn't help myself. And I would just find myself, instead of eating it constantly, I would be binging on it. And when I wasn't eating it, I was craving it, and I was thinking about sugar all the time. So, we have over 60,000 thoughts on average in a day, and I think that the majority of my thoughts, so sadly to say, were surrounding sugar. When I could get more sugar, I thought I was hungry. I was just literally experiencing a craving, and those cravings wouldn't stop. And so those cravings could come in many different forms, right? I could feel like I just needed a break. It was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I couldn't focus anymore. I couldn't work. I just needed a couple of pieces of chocolate, whatever it was, but it was this constant feeling. And so as I started to embrace more good fats, the way that I was able to remove my cravings was I started with fat bombs. So I love fat bombs, right? And when we make them at home, I make them with monk fruit. So every time I would have a craving, probably for the first 2 months, because my addiction was so intense, I would feed myself a fat bomb. So it was still something sweet, but I wasn't giving myself sugar. And slowly but surely, I was able to remove all of the sugar out of my life, all of the processed foods, and I was able to replace it with the good fats. So now when I feel a craving, and they're very rare, when I feel a craving, I'm able at this moment in time to take a teaspoon or a tablespoon of MCT oil. I'm able to enjoy some heavy cream in my coffee or my autophagy or whatever it might be, but I'm able to nourish my body and give myself those benefits and those cravings, and that really can help me. So I was just building up these good feelings, and I didn't even know that they existed in my body. And so it was like this breakthrough of joy. And as I was building these good feelings from the good fats and the reduction of the sugar, my blood sugar was balancing, I was having more energy, my autophagy was activating, which we're going to talk more about, and many of you have heard about in my book, Low 15. But what was really changing me was those 60,000 thoughts that I was experiencing were not around my addiction anymore. And so all of a sudden I had more time, more energy, more ability to focus on the things that mattered to me. And that in and of itself, forget about all the physical benefits that I got. That was the number one benefit that I got from being able to break my sugar craving. And so if you're like me and you want to really kick those sugar addictions that you may have suffered from for so long, what would that feel like? Would you know that you could change the way that you look, your energy, your well-being, just by kicking your sugar habit? And so I've created some of the very best, incredible hacks to become an efficient body fat burner and move away from being those sugar burners. So when Dr. Shanahan first taught us that, my goodness, there's a difference by incorporating good fats into your body, where your body's utilizing those good fats. That's one thing. But when you're able to actually have that flexibility from going from burning sugar or being a glucose burner to being a fat burner from what you're ingesting, but then going to being a body fat burner, so you're literally burning up and utilizing your own body fat, that's when I knew I had kicked my addiction to sugar in a meaningful way, and I had gotten way past ever going back to that. A lot of people also ask about how to incorporate fasting, and fasting in someone's life may be unrealistic or not possible. Well, I want to tell you, I've been fasting for over 25 years. So I started to fast with juices, and that's a really, really hard way to fast because you're giving your body constant supply of glucose. And for me at least, I used to do, everything from a 1-day juice fast, so like a watermelon juice fast, or I'd go all the way up to 14 days. I would do different amounts of time to help reduce my eczema, my inflammation, but I was always putting these juices into my body because that was what I knew was the thing that was best in that day and age. And so I was doing those sort of things. And that had some impact on me, but again, it just brought up the sugar. So what I've discovered really over the past 6 years, so about 5 years ago, I started to do intermittent fasting, and I did the intermittent fasting because of my friends at different universities who were really starting to study the power of a shorter fast, right? So there is research now that tells us if we fast for 16 hours, what kind of impact 12 hours, what kind of impact 10 hours, what kind of impact each of these different amounts of time can have on our own body. And so about 5 years ago, when it was really new in the research labs, that's when I started to do the intermittent fasts. And so my body craves intermittent fasting. That's when I have the most energy. It's completely and totally effortless. And there's so much misinformation out there around what an intermittent fast can do, what the side effects will be. And so I'm really here to share with you the most amount of research that's out there that has been pulled together, all the different scientific studies, all the different practitioners who are bringing that information. I mean, you've had the opportunity to watch Dr. Fung, learn from him, Walter Longo, so many, Dr. Dan Pompa, so many different practitioners, researchers, and the data just keeps building. But I'm really here to share with you that there are easy ways to make fasting such a part of your life and allow it to really be effortless. Because if you're feeling like you're having to push yourself, then that means that you're not ready for it, and there are other things that you should be doing first. There's another idea out there that I've heard that fasting can actually slow down and ruin your metabolism. And actually, quite the opposite is true, right? So if you're doing a shorter fast, if you're doing a 16-hour fast, if you're doing a fast like a 5-day water fast, you're doing a 1-day fast, there's so much research that shows it actually improves your metabolic health. It gives you a metabolic advantage. And there's a study that was done at the Pennington Institute, right? So the Pennington Institute is one of the most world-renowned institutes on weight loss and weight management. And what they did is they, over the course of 8 weeks, took a group of participants and they studied these participants. So it was a double-blind, placebo-controlled study. It was a double-blind study. And in this study, half of the participants ate 1 day and then didn't eat the other day. So they did a 24-hour fast. And the other group ate 1 day and then they ate the next day. But nobody really knew what was going on and what was being measured. And so what was discovered was at the end of those 8 weeks that the participants who were fasting every other day were able to consume twice as many fat grams during the day that they were eating as the participants who weren't, and they were able to burn more body fat, and they had a statistically significant reduction in weight. So I think this is an example of something that's totally spectacular and very, very powerful. And the science is truly pointing to us being able to improve our metabolism, improve our health and well-being just by incorporating fasting into our lives. So many people also talk about getting into ketosis and how going without carbs is just not possible. So let's now talk about my favorite subject, which is the ketone body and how it really is the fourth macronutrient and how it's such a powerful source of energy. And if you can tap into it and you can get rid of your cravings and you can have that powerful and truly everlasting energy. So my day started, I don't even remember, probably at 5:30 this morning, and I have so much energy and so much excitement and passion for what it is that we're talking about right now. I don't even feel a dip in energy, and I haven't felt a dip in energy. And that's because I've focused on my ketones and how I'm absorbing those ketones. So some of this like really new cutting edge research is showing that ketones can protect our muscle mass, and they're the one thing that can have a huge impact on our brain health, our ability to focus, our inflammation, helping us to go from being sugar burners into fat burners, having that true metabolic flexibility, and being able to absorb and benefit from the ketones that are naturally occurring in our body is something that has such a dramatic impact that reducing the carbs becomes like second nature. Being French and starting most of my days throughout my life with baguettes, chocolate croissants, all of these heavy carbs first thing in the morning is something that is cultural for me. But I never imagined that I would not care about bread. And that's exactly how I feel today. And I think for those of you that haven't had that experience, getting into a place where you're utilizing your ketone bodies is so powerful, and the side effect is not even wanting those carbohydrates. A really easy way to support your ketone bodies and help yourself is by incorporating MCT oil into your daily routine. So I mentioned to you, I just, like 30 minutes before I started this, I took a tablespoon of MCT oil because I know that's my number one source of energy, and it helps me to focus and feel great. And as I also mentioned to you, there's a difference between the way that regular MCT oil is processed. So first and foremost, I like to get my MCT oil from coconuts, and they're called medium chain triglycerides, and they're part of the coconut oil that's produced. And these medium chain triglycerides have so many therapeutic benefits to our body and to our health. There's so much research, and my team really has been studying that research for quite some time. But the key to these MCTs is that they actually bypass our gut, as we know, and go right into the liver. And so they're called like an endogenous ketone, so your body has to make the ketone, but they're being made through the liver, and they're so powerful. So I highly recommend for everyone to incorporate MCTs into your diet, and you always want to make sure that they're organic, because the organic kind are the ones that are the most nutritious. They don't have any of the hexane or the other excipients or ingredients that are used to really make the extraction. Instead, enzymes, like beautiful natural source of life enzymes, are used to help with those, and they help to create that feeling of satiety as well as that focus for our brains. So those are just some of the ways, and there are so many other ways, from certain types of exercise to incorporating your circadian rhythm to help your body produce more of those ketones, or the different salts that are out there, and we can talk about those too. But there are so many different ways to really help your body not just create more, but also utilize and absorb the ones that your body is naturally producing, which gets me so excited. So I know for sure what kind of commitment it takes to take, for any one of us to take care of all of the responsibilities that we have as it relates to our health, to our families, to our weight. And for me, there have been times when it was really overwhelming. And I remember there was a time about 2.5 years ago, I had just sold my company, Reservage Nutrition, and the company that purchased my company a couple of months after I sold it started to speak to me about coming on and being their CEO for the parent company. And I thought really long and hard about it, because what it would mean was taking the work that I had been doing to a much higher level. It was a public company, and there was also a major challenge of taking a brand that had been in the marketplace for over 50 years and reinventing it and reinvigorating it and incorporating the principles of supply chain to the quality of the products. And there was a tremendous amount of work to do. There was a tremendous amount of travel. And with my autoimmune health and the high level of inflammation that I experienced, I wasn't sure that I would be able to undergo that amount of travel because of what it would stress my body with. And I also was responsible for going on QVC and sharing all of my products, and that was a very challenging process as well, because I would have to fly up there and go on television, and I would typically do that, maybe upward of 50 plus appearances on an annual basis, and that in and of itself is like a full-time job. So here I was looking at what was like 3 full-time jobs, and I have a family of 4, which I absolutely love. I think I just froze. So give us a second, guys. I think we've had a technical moment here. It froze? It's just frozen on this screen. So we're going to try to fix it on this screen, but if I'm still live, I'm going to keep going with, Karen, can you just help me because it's frozen on this side? I'm going to tell you a little bit about what it was. Here, it's back. Okay, great. What it was when I agreed to do these jobs. And what it was for me was a moment when I had to really look at how was I going to accomplish these things. And so I felt that I needed some coaches in my life to help me. And I looked for a coach that would literally help me to protect my health, that would help me to maintain my energy, and also give me the ability to have a strong enough internal engine to deal with the stress of the travel and all of the work. And so I found this incredible coach that actually has a background of working with NFL teams, with performers who travel all over the world and need to be able to stay at their highest level of energy. And when I found this coach, I learned that he was actually very, very expensive. And I thought about the cost associated with him and what that would mean. And then I also thought about, how I would be able to get through the work I needed to do without somebody like him really helping me to protect my health and my well-being, and also build my own internal engine and my mitochondrial engine, which is what I needed. And so I decided I was going to hire him. And I got so much pushback. Oh my goodness, I got pushback from my board. I got pushback from my husband. I got pushback from my teammates. They thought I was being excessive, and they literally were not one person was walking in my shoes. So unless I was listening to myself and paying attention to what my personal needs were, this job was going to have a detrimental effect on my life and could, in fact, really harm me. And so I made that decision to bring this coach on and to work with him and to have him help me build my own internal engine and keep me at that level set. But it was such a challenging thing to do, because while I knew that I needed different tools, the people around me couldn't see that and thought that it was totally inappropriate. So I remember having countless discussions, arguments, and even fights to protect my well-being. And it was a really interesting process, but I have to tell you, it was one of the best things I did. And while I couldn't quite make sense of the cost because it was so much money, what I was able to do was look at the results. And during that time, I traveled in that first year around the globe. We counted the miles. It was the equivalence of 8 times. I was able to reinvigorate this business, spend incredible amounts of time on QVC. We had our most successful year ever, and my family and I were able to really connect in meaningful ways. And I had a secret goal that year that I didn't tell most people, but I did tell my coach. And that was, I wanted that year, even with all that stress that I was experiencing, to be a year that helped me to age in reverse. So I wanted, by the end of that year, to feel and look 5 years younger, because I'm in the business of aging well, and I walk the walk and I talk the talk. But if my level of stress was so high and I couldn't deal with that, then I was going to age even more and prematurely. So what I did at the end of that year is I did an analysis where I did a bunch of different, I used a bunch of different tools, but I used one called Inside Tracker, and it sort of tests your chronological age to your biological age. And I was very excited. I have those results, and those results continue to discover that I was more than 5 years biologically younger than my chronological age. So that year gave me tools that I could have never gotten had I not worked with this incredible coach, and I still use those tools to this day. So here are a couple of the keys to what I believe help us to work with coaches. And there is nothing wrong in my mind with working with coaches. I've worked with them for the past 25 years, and there will be many years where I'll work with a whole handful of coaches for different areas of my life. And so one thing that I've learned is, number one, you want to chunk it out, and you really want to focus on how you master the skill for yourself. Right? So whatever it is, it could be an overwhelming, it could be a daunting task, but focus on how you chunk it into short processes. And that's one way to get there. The other thing that I learned from this particular coach, which completely blew my mind, is measurement. You want to measure every single day in more than one way. So he had 15 different measurements that I would do on a daily basis. And those little minute measurements in different ways, from my heart rate to my weight to all different areas of my health, those 15 things had probably the largest impact in the way that I was able to be coached. The next one is understanding your starting point, right? Where you're beginning, and not thinking it's something different than it was. And then the next one that I love to do is associate positive feelings and positive energy and what that means to you, how positive you feel when you're learning something new, and keeping that positivity up can really help you to associate that same feeling when you're incorporating it later on. Another one that I always do is do my deep breathing as I'm learning and being coached to that next level. So we're going to talk about that more. I like to also anchor in with either music. So favorite music, a lot of you, may have gone to Tony Robbins or different things, but music is a key to anchoring a new behavior and or a scent. So in my offices at home, I like to use different essential oils so that I have that scent. And we know that scent is our strongest memory and it goes back the furthest. So using scent as a tool when you're getting coached is really, really valuable. And then visualizing or meditating, right? So we know that our brains don't know the difference between something that we're visualizing and the real thing. So before I'm doing any sort of coaching, like with this example of wanting to look and feel 5 years younger, I visualized that, I meditated on it, and I was able to experience it, and I'm still able to experience it just by focusing on it. So I found that finding the right coach and putting the focus on the exact goals are really, really important. But there are 3 things that I want to talk to you about as being things that are the absolute wrong things to do when you're working with a coach. So the first one is not engaging 100%, right? So you can imagine what the results are if you get the full benefit, but when you don't engage 100% and you're not fully in that moment, you're not going to get the kind of results that you need to. So staying curious and open and engaging, that's a big part of being coached effectively. So if you're not doing that, that's a real issue. Another area that's a big no-no is not using your primary learning style when it is that you're being coached. So I need to physically do the movements, or I need to physically move while it is that I'm learning something that's so important to my well-being. And so focusing on that style, you may be visual. There are so many different ways that we learn, but really understanding that and incorporating it is very important. And then another thing that's a real no-no when it comes to coaching is once you've learned something, by not anchoring it within the first 24 hours. And what I mean by that is if you hear something and you don't incorporate it again within the next 24 hours, it doesn't go into your longer term memory. And so it's critically important to do that within your first 24 hours. So how many of you at this moment in time are super excited about what we've been talking about, from the fourth macronutrient to understanding, some of the secrets in my own life that have helped me to experience this incredible well-being? Or are some of you feeling really overwhelmed because, we've covered so much? Do you feel like some of these things might work for you? And that's what I'm excited to hear about, and I can't wait to get to our live Q&As. So I want to tell you a little bit about this program and what I want to bring to you. So I know it's so difficult to cover all that I want to be successful with connecting the dots from the Real Skinny on Fat, right? And I know that you want that kind of transformation, and many of you may have already had parts of that transformation in the past, several weeks, or when you first got involved with the Real Skinny on Fat. And I've gotten so many incredible testimonials from those of you. But for the ones of you that want that deep-rooted change, that deep-rooted feeling of like, oh my gosh, my life is totally different, then I'm going to announce something to you that we have been working on for almost a year. And that is this very successful clinical trial, right? So many of you have asked for additional help. You've asked for additional support. And so what we did is we launched a pilot program where we were literally able to work with a large group of people. And we did it a few months ago, and we had the most astonishing results. So I want to tell you what these results were, right? So number one, 85% of all of the participants lost weight, and the max weight was of 30 pounds. 30 pounds of weight to drop that was just so exciting. 86% of these participants had a reduction in the waist and their hip size. And one person actually lost 6 inches in their waist, and 13, which I couldn't even imagine, 13 inches, right? Like that much in their hips. 97% of the participants had an improvement in their overall health conditions, and that to me was the most important one. 97%. 92% of the participants said they were going to recommend the program, and so many of you have probably heard of the program, and 85% of the participants wanted to do it again. And so that's what we're talking about today. Can you imagine if you were one of these participants and this happening to you? Just feel what that would feel like, right? So with that and so much hard work, energy, blood, sweat, and tears from my team, we are finally unveiling our 9-week Switch to Better Health. And that is this brand new program. And I want to ask you this. If you had the exact formula that I personally use, that was used in this landmark clinical trial, with every single participant getting incredible results, and access to an actual coach that I've worked with that would hold your hand and support you to make sure that you did not fail, just like my coach was able to do that for me, do you think that it would make a difference in your life? Where we would incorporate the research from these 80 experts and put it into a process that would allow us to, with these coaches, go step by step and chunk it through over 9 weeks. Would you invest right now? You're getting the entire 9-week Switch to Better Health. And here's the significance of a 9-week program. To me, it's all about total and complete well-being. So 9 weeks is a specific amount of time. But what I mean by 9 weeks is that you will experience true well-being. It means that is where you are, where you naturally are. So when you think about well-being, I like to almost call it weller-being. It's a feeling of where you are in your most natural state, your best state, your happiest state, your feeling of wellness that just exudes out of your body, where you're not being pulled down by your autoimmune, your inflammation, your weight. You're not being pulled down by adrenal fatigue. You're not being pulled down by Hashimoto's. Whatever it may be, the neurodegenerative experiences that you may be already having in your life, but where we're really able to live our life when we are in the driver's seat and our body is working for us in harmony with us, not at this resistance with us, right? So in 9 weeks, just think about having the body that works for you, where you're able to protect your health and your well-being, and your body isn't fighting against you because it's fighting against all of the outside influences that you're not trying to push on it, but that are literally hurting you. So what else can happen in 9 weeks as you can go from really feeling like you are now at an opportunity moment in your life to experience the miracle within your own body? I want to go back to those 60,000 thoughts that we have in an average day. I don't know what it is for you, but for so many of us, it's those cravings, the level of cravings that we're feeling, that glucose dependence. I wonder if those thoughts every day could be removed and instead replaced with thoughts that could improve your well-being. And let's say your thoughts are, I can't have that. That's not good, or whether it might be good. And then you're satiated and you're becoming your ideal weight and you have that real energy. Then it's like, well, what do I do now with my time? Now you can literally create the areas of your life that you want and do the things that matter to you. Does that make sense? When you remove the energy and the time that you're focusing on those cravings, the lack of energy, all of those negatives, and instead you replace them with being able to do the things that actually build you up, how different and how much more momentum do you have in your life? So here is what we're going to be covering over the next 9 weeks. I want to share with you a couple of slides, and I'm going to let you take a look at them, and then I'm going to share them with you as well. So module 1, we're going to get into the importance of detox. So before we do anything else, each of us needs to know how to detox our body. So if it's starting with the liver, if it's starting with our adrenals, if it's giving our kidneys the opportunity, if it's the connection between the gallbladder and the liver, if it's whatever it may be, lymphatic, but we need to be able to really detox. And so I've had the privilege and opportunity to work with some of the world's top detox experts, and that's going to be the focus of module 1. So they're really, really powerful tools to allowing our bodies to detox every single day. And because I suffer with my autoimmune disorders, I think about detox in the same way that I think about eating. So if I'm eating 1, 2, 3 times a day, I'm also constantly constantly thinking about how am I detoxing my body. So if I'm using my dry brush to help stimulate my lymphatic system, that's really important. If I'm using bitters in my food to help to, really detox my body, if I'm using magnesium spray or magnesium Epsom salt bath every single day, these are all ways that I incorporate detox, but there are so many other ways. So module 1 of our 9-week program is dedicated exclusively to detox. So module 2 that you're going to learn about is where we're going to really talk about becoming a lean and efficient body fat burner, right? And so you can absolutely become metabolically flexible and utilize that tool during the 9 weeks of this Better Health, Switch to Better Health. And the reason I chose the word switch is think about a light switch, right? So a light switch is so easy to turn on and off. And when you're able to switch from being a glucose sugar burner to being a body fat burner, it should be just as easy. So I'm going to give you the tools to really help reduce your inflammation, balance your mood, and go between the 2 different states effectively and efficiently, which in turn also really helps you to utilize those ketone bodies. So then in module 3, we're going to get into the keto focus, right? So we're going to dive deep into keto, and it's going to help to prepare your body when you are metabolically flexible to start fasting. So module 3 is all about ketogenics and how we can use that metabolic flexibility to really drive our ketone utilization within our own body. So much of the work on this module was really around focusing on it with Dr. Dominic D'Agostino, with Angela Poff, with so many great researchers who are the world's top experts, and that's why Module 3 is dedicated to the ketone body. And so Module 4 is where we'll get into, and this will really be our 4th section, and that's where we're going to go into intermittent fasting. So our coaches and me, we're going to really work hard on giving you the tools of exactly can I take a look at that again? Going to give you the tools of exactly what you need to incorporate intermittent fasting. I can't tell you how many questions I get from you every single day on intermittent fasting. Is it safe? Can I do it? I get headaches. I've created this feeling of anxiety, like I struggle, I'm too hungry. I mean, so many different things. And intermittent fasting is such a fabulous tool, and there are so many techniques for really getting into a scheduled eating window, and Module 4 is completely and totally dedicated to that. And so we're going to go into now Module 5, right? So we're going to cover in Module 5 the focus on movement. So what is movement, right? Movement is not necessarily exercise. There's a lot of ways to get movement into your day. Movement could be literally, and there's tons of research that's coming out right now, and it's really on the cutting edge, but movement could be twitching. So I could be sitting here just shaking my leg back and forth, moving around, and you've probably seen me moving quite a bit over this period of time, and that's on purpose, because as we twitch, as we move around, as we let our little nervous twitch that might be there, that all helps our metabolism. Getting up once an hour when we're sitting down so that we're moving around and benefiting from that. All those sort of things show us that we're able to get tremendous benefit from that. And when we're sitting for too long, our metabolism slows down. So it's critically important to keep your body moving. And the good news is you don't have to go to the gym, but what you do have to do is take these simple, I would call them almost body hacks, to allow us to look at movement in the same way that we may have looked at exercise for the past 20 years, right? Our ancestors didn't go to the gym. We didn't have to fight through traffic to get to the gym to do it. Like, that wasn't what we were doing. And yet, at this point in time, the gym is such a big part of so many people's lives. And if it's not, then we feel bad and we're not exercising. But I'm here to tell you that it's about movement, and we're going to work together on what that movement really is. And all of this is supported by incredible researchers like Dr. Heather Hausenblas, Dr. Steve Anton, people who have dedicated their entire careers to exercise. And so what I'm going to be sharing with you in Module 5 is really the best of their most cutting-edge research on it. So everything that you'll be learning will probably be things that you may have never heard before, but you know that it's going to take your health and your body to that next level of energy and well-being. So Module 6 is the next one I want to talk to you about. And you'll be absolutely physically and mentally ready for your 5-day water fast. And for those of you that don't want to do a 5-day water fast, and I bet it's going to be most of you, you're going to have the opportunity to do the 5-day fasting mimicking diet, right? And that's a program where you eat very low calories. It's based on what work that Dr. Walter Longo has been doing and the 24 clinical studies that's there. So you're going to have these options. But we know from the Real Skinny on Fat that after 3 days, and Dr. Joseph Anton taught us this, after 3 days of fasting, that's when we start to build our stem cells. And so I have a deep passion for more stem cells in my body. I know you have a deep passion for more stem cells in your body. And new stem cells that can be built after just 3 days is a game changer. And the first time I heard that, I had to ask Dr. Joseph Anton about 4 times, you got to tell me, is this really real? I need to see the science, because I didn't know that through fasting we could literally activate our own stem cells and the deeper levels of autophagy that gets activated. And for those of you that don't know about autophagy, but I'm sure you do, it's something that I've been passionate about for all of my life, and I discovered the keys to activating autophagy in my own body about 4 years ago when I was with Dr. Elizabeth Janda in Calabria, Italy, and I just fell upon this incredible science that she was doing, and I started to learn how the citrus bergamot fruit could literally help to activate the autophagy in my body, and just getting into circadian rhythms that promoted restorative sleep could do that, and fasting could do it in an incredible way. And autophagy is all about self, auto in Greek, and phage, to eat. So self-eating. We have a process in our body that literally eats up the junk and the accumulation of so much debris and helps to recycle it. And this, again, just like the ketone bodies, is something that is naturally in us, and all we have to do is activate it. So Module 6 is really about activating the natural biological processes that you possess and just getting them to that next level. So are you getting all of this? In these 6 modules, I have been able to take the best and brightest minds and apply them to their areas of focus so that I could bring to you the 9-week course program that can really help you transform your better health, your switch to better health. So that's what this means. And I think it's so exciting. And so let me show you some of the people who have had a chance to participate and really get into the early trials in the programs. So I'm going to introduce you to Kay Miller, and I'm going to introduce you to Gretchen Anderson. And I want to ask you, as you're watching these testimonials, are you next? Would you be that? So let's share these with you. I need to find these testimonials and share them with you. So it's just going to take me a quick second. Here they are. Okay.
That I had worked with. My family physician, several years ago, I started having just a lot of brain fog and just a lot of different issues, a lot of inflammation, joint pain, and so I was talking to the family physician, and I had put on quite quite a bit of weight. And I was talking to the family physician, and he said, "Oh, well, here, I'll just give you these pills. Try these pills." And then he said also there was a book that he said, "Try this diet book, try this plan." And so I said, "Well, I'll try the plan. I'm really not that big on I don't really want pills." And so I said, "But we'll try them and see how that goes." And so I went ahead and tried the book and the diet plan, and it worked for a few months. Oh, actually about 6 months or so, and it worked. I took the pills for about a couple weeks, and they made me. I just had terrible side effects. I couldn't remember names. I couldn't remember. I started having all these issues, and so I totally stopped those. And pretty much stayed on the diet. Husband and I both stayed on this plan. And my husband and I were on that for about 3 years. And then I started gaining weight again and started having issues, more and more issues. And so I had, at the age of 12, I had Graves' disease, which is hyperactive thyroid. And at the time, the best treatment was taking a radioactive iodine isotope and then being x-rayed. Well, the result of that was I absolutely have no thyroid. It totally destroyed my thyroid. So from the age of 12 on, I didn't realize until I was in my late adulthood that after having family and such, that there were major issues with that because I was on a synthetic thyroid and not something more natural. And so I was trying to boost my body. I was giving my body something that was synthetic, and it wasn't reacting the way seemed like everybody else was doing well, but I just was not reacting well on that. So I actually went through my family physician. I was gaining weight and brain fog and all these issues. And so my family physician said, "Okay, here, I'll give you pills and read this book, diet book. It works great." And the pills were just not the answer. The diet was doing well, but there needed to be something else. There was another step. And then after a few years, I did doing some more research, knowing that I was still having the other issues, and that life could be a whole lot better than what I was living. I decided, okay, I found out about a functional medicine doctor, and the functional medicine doctor, I got on that program for about 8 months, and it cleared up all my issues. It really did. It cleared up everything except for my weight. And other people in the office, they were coming in like weekly. I would see them, and they would, "Oh, I've lost 25 pounds already. I've lost, 60 pounds. I was like, gosh, I don't understand this. Here I am just religiously following the plan and eating program. And it just wasn't working for me. So there was something else. There was another missing piece of the puzzle that I had to just keep trying. And I had also, before that, I had tried another plan that my endocrinologist, my thyroid doctor, that she suggested, and that didn't work. And then I went to an endocrinologist, weight specialist, diabetes specialist, and he told me that the most important thing I could do would be do exercise like 300 minutes a week at least, and watch my diet and things that were, or I was already eating very healthy. I was already eating organics and no caffeine, no sugar, and exercising at least, 3-4 times a week. But and so when he said that to me, it actually just discouraged me to no end. I was came home just in tears, telling my husband that these doctors are not listening. There's something else wrong. And I'm not fine. I can't find a doctor. I can't find somebody, a westernized doctor, I think, that understands, that actually listens and understands that it is not just exercise. It is not just what you're eating, that there is something else there that's going on. After seeing the Skinny on Fat, the docu-series, The Real Skinny on Fat, and it gave me hope. It's like, there are people out there, especially Naomi. It's like, thank you, God, for this woman. She truly was an answer to my prayers, because that's what I was praying all the time. Help, please put somebody in my life that understands. I had a definite goal in mind. I wanted to feel better. I want to be one of those people that does not need over-the-counter medication. I don't want to take a bunch of prescriptions. I just want to live the best life I can live naturally with what God gave me, and optimize my health. I really was hoping that the brain fog would clear, and I would actually lose the weight and just generally feel better overall. And I found that to be true. I felt better. Oh my goodness. I would wake up feeling ready to take on the world. And the intermittent fasting and the protein cycling was a huge key for me and for my personal well-being. One thing I'd like to share about the program is just do it.
I heard about Glow 15 and Naomi through Naomi's mother, actually. I got an email from her saying, my daughter's book just made the New York Times bestseller list, and she provided me with the link. And so I went to the link, and it kind of was fortuitous in the sense that I turned 59 the beginning of March, and I said, okay, this is my 60th trip around the sun. I'm going to make this year my best year yet. So when I turn 60, people aren't going to say, wow, you're 60. They're going to say, I can't believe you're 60. And then when the course became available, I thought, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right. I'm going to enroll in the course. I'm going to find out all the little pieces that I'm missing. I'm going to really try to do this with fidelity instead of just kind of hit or miss. And so I signed up for the course. I think when I started the program, my biggest goal was that I wanted to be healthier. I wanted to feel healthier. I wanted to look healthier. When I heard about the autophagy, I thought, who doesn't want to look younger and feel younger? So when I started it, I did it with that in mind, and I saw results almost immediately. I found like immediate results. People immediately started saying to me, your complexion looks different. And then little by little, I was noticing my body was changing. I was getting thinner. I was losing that kind of pouchy midsection that I had. And it was really easy to keep going once you started seeing the results. My energy level went through the roof. It was incredible. I was finishing up teaching. I'm a teacher, and it was the end of the school year, and I was dragging. And when I started this program, suddenly I had energy again, and I had the desire to do things again, and it was just really wonderful. I started the program, it wasn't about weight loss, it was more the autophagy really piqued my interest, and I thought, okay, if I could just not stop, but just if I can delay or slow down the aging process, that would be fabulous. But as I guess a side effect of the program, I started losing weight. And when I started it, I had no intention of really trying to lose weight. It was just, I wanted to be healthy. So I started, like I said, noticing that my body was changing. So I got on the scale and realized after about 6 weeks that I had lost about 8 pounds. And my clothes fit better. My body looks better. I look in the mirror and go, you know, I don't have that paunchy middle anymore, or I don't have that little gut that I've been kind of procrastinating about getting in shape and getting rid of. It just kind of did it on its own. It was not that hard to do. So it was kind of exciting. I mean, usually you think I've got to exercise every day and I've got to eat healthy and I've got to do this and I've got to do that. This was so easy. This program was so easy to do, and the results were amazing. So it was inspiring, and it kept me going just because I got results. The one thing I would want to share with everyone is this program is phenomenal. It is easy to do. You see results almost immediately. It is, if you have the chance to take this course, definitely do it. The support, the information, the supplements, the diet, the food, the recipes, it's all there. You don't need to look anywhere else. The thing I found when people hadn't seen me in a little while and they saw me again, they didn't say, oh, you've lost weight. They would say things like, you look fantastic. What are you doing? You look more fit. What are you doing? So it was kind of like, I liked those. The only other thing I would say is the research and the depth of knowledge that Naomi has and that she shares with us is phenomenal. It's something that you don't see, I don't think, anywhere else, or at least I haven't seen anywhere else. It's just incredible, the knowledge and the research and the people that she has that she can draw on to get this information, and then she's willing to share it.
So I really hope you liked that, and I hope that you would be our next testimonial. I think, you know, these are just a couple of the stories that had a huge impact on me, and I get so much energy from your questions. And in just a couple minutes, we're actually going to go to live Q&As, so I'm really excited to get those questions from you. I want to just know a little bit more if you're that sandwiched person that we spoke about at the beginning, if you're the person that may have tried every single lifestyle or those quick fixes and you haven't been able to get to the root cause of what those might be, and you know that there's an answer, but you're struggling with those extra pounds, maybe it's up to 50 pounds, then this is really the place for you. If you feel so sluggish, if you feel tired, if you feel fatigued and you don't know what that is, you may have chased down every little rabbit hole to try to feel better and you're confused and you're at a loss of what to do next. If you're someone who feels overwhelmed, you may feel that low-grade anxiety and stress, and that's that chronic stress that we know contributes to so many bad things in our well-being, and you just need that clarity, then this is what's for you. If you know exactly what you need to do, and there are some of you that do, and that makes me very, very happy, but you need someone to keep you motivated, and you need a group and a community that's going to make sure that when you make that commitment to yourself now, that you achieve the results that you want. Well, I completely understand, and this is what's for you. Believe me, I have heard so much of this before, and I have suffered from so much of it myself. And if you want to be your best self and you don't want to do it now, the question I have for you is, when are you going to do it? You know, when is that time? Now, you might be thinking, you can't get started with this right now because it's not good timing. or you have a special issue that I don't understand. Believe me, I've heard it all before. And when is the best time to become your best version of your own self? If you don't do this now, when would you do it? I'm absolutely here to support you and get you where you want to go. Are you ready to get started? So I'm utilizing my hand-picked, personally trained staff of coaches. They're going to assist you and help you through the entire program. Normally, you're going to pay $200 per one session for a live group coaching call like this. When you choose your switch to Better Health today, you're going to get special access, and I mean really special access to my team of coaches. The team of coaches that I have worked with over the past several years to provide you with the exact tools that will get you to where you want to be. You will be working with them every single step of the way. We'll have live calls each and every week to assess, also to direct, and to help you be accountable to your goals so that you can stay on track. And I'll even conduct your very first live call personally. In fact, I personally would have never gotten to my goals without the help of my coach. Now, the next question is just as important as everything I've asked you thus far. Who is the Switch to Better Health program not for? If you are not going to commit to communicate with your coach or be there for the calls, this program will not work for you. You have to be ready and willing to make this program work for you, and I will do my part as well. You will have access to these coaches in many different ways at many different times, depending on your schedule. But you have to want the outcome enough to go through the periods of temporary discomfort just to get there. I'm going to be conducting your first weekly call and the 9-week call personally. And the reason that I'm doing this is because there is so much value when you know that I'm going to be personally holding you accountable to reach your goals. And when we're there together on the call, we're going to have the most unbelievable time sharing in the wins, the challenges, and all of the opportunities. And because I have spent over 25 years dedicated to switching to better health, you better believe that you're going to get so much value out of those live calls. I hope that it completely and totally transforms. And as part of this package, you're going to get a kit of my favorite nutritional supplements to get you started. This kit has been curated and specifically chosen to be the most important supplements to get you off to an early success. It's a 30-day supply, and it's just for you. Now, when I was just starting to figure these principles out, I would run into so many issues where I needed just a little tiny boost, or I didn't have the energy I wanted. So I had to create my basic key supplement toolkit for myself. So after years of trial and error, you're going to have what you absolutely need to get the key best results. And what I've discovered over the years is that every one of us is in a different place, and sometimes just some additional support can make all the difference as we evaluate our own nutritional needs. So what I've done is I've decided to add a one-on-one consultation with my own nutritional team so you can pinpoint exactly what you need and exactly what you don't need. So there will be no more wasting money on expensive supplements that you hope will work now that you know exactly what it is that you need and nothing more. It is critically important to your success that we don't guess. The average dieter, I have discovered through research, wastes over $300 every single year on supplements that you just don't need or that don't help you. And that frustrates me to no end. So what I've done is I have carefully chosen the products and the nutrients that will help you achieve the results that you want. I do not want you wasting any time trying to recreate the wheel. We've got to find the nutrients that work the best for you so you can jumpstart and benefit from this program in the way that will work the very best for you. So what's so great about this is it means that you do not have to go through the trial and error period, which means you save time. It allows you to focus on what really matters and gives us the opportunity to provide you with the momentum to achieve the results that this program offers. So when you switch to your better health and it becomes active, you'll be getting all of these bonuses on top of the most incredible program. So you'll be getting a bonus of live weekly coaching calls. That has a $1,997 value. You'll also be getting the bonus of 2 live calls with me personally, something I never do. That has a $2,000 value. You'll also be getting the bonus of a 30-day supplement kickstart. Those supplements have been specifically chosen for you. That has a $350 value. And of course, you're going to be getting the one-on-one supplement review call with one of our nutritionists to help you define exactly what it is that you need from a nutritional supplement perspective. And that has a $499 value. So much of my personal success has been through the experience of having access to incredible coaches. And so I want you to have that same success. I don't want you to be struggling with questions and having to wait a whole week. I don't want you to have issues that you can't figure out the answers to. What makes this course something that is so unique that you've never seen out there is the access that we give you. This course is all about access. And so what I've done is I have created a closed and private Facebook community that has a value of over $100 a month, in addition to a website with every bit of the program, as well as the additional materials that you'll have 24 access to. I want you to have access to a live Facebook group. My team of nutritionists will be running daily office hours so that you can get your own questions answered live, quickly, every single day. This Facebook community will offer you live office hours. It's going to make it faster and easier for you to achieve your goals, to lose the weight, whatever it may be. How? Because finally, you're going to have a support team that will be on call, just like what I have every day. And this support team will help you so that you will never be alone. If all the Switch to Better Health program did was finally get you to your ideal weight, would it be worth the money? Now, obviously, I am not going to charge you $5,000 plus. But if it were that much, my question for you, would it be worth it to you? If all the Switch to Better Health did was give you that vibrant energy that you thought was lost, would that be worth it to you? If you never ever had to waste money again on supplements that you didn't need, would that be worth it to you? Is this making sense? Now, I had 2 choices when I was looking to create the Switch to Better Health program. I could go with a lean, inexpensive program, but the problem was I couldn't create the value that I really wanted for you. So instead, I decided to go with the second option, which requires a slightly higher investment on both of our parts. But in exchange for that investment, we together can work with my team of coaches. We can together dedicate more time, energy, and resources so that you are able to achieve the level of success that I know you can experience. Okay, you have already seen how it's worth over $4,000, and even at $5,000, which is what we charge for each component, it's still an incredible value for you. Because you are here, I have put together something that is totally unique. Now, after the initial 9-week course has launched, the price is going to go up. Live coaching programs like this online usually sell for between $3,000 to $5,000, sometimes even more. But because we've got the resources pulled together for you in one place, you'll only pay $12.97. Okay. So at this point, you have two choices. Choice number one is do nothing. And tomorrow will be a very similar day, and it will go from there. Or choice number two, you can choose to take a leap of faith, hold my hand, and believe in your personal switch to your better health. And what we're going to be using is my dedication throughout my entire life to discovering the keys that will finally help you. Just see if this will work for you. And of course, I am so excited and passionate about this program that I'm offering you a money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. Are you ready to get started? Just click the button right here on this page and let's begin our journey to your better health, to your switch to better health. So now that you've heard all of this information, I want to go over with you exactly what the program includes. First and foremost, you're going to get 6 modules carefully designed to transform your health. Then, as a bonus, you're going to get live weekly coaching calls. You're going to get live calls with me, one at the beginning and one at the end of your 9-week program. You're going to get the resources that you need for success, which is a dedicated website, an incredible workbook, and lots of recipes. Then, as an additional bonus, you're going to get your 30-day supply of specific nutritional supplements just for you, as well as 2 supplement consultations. This all has a massive value of over $5,396. So I'm going to start with just a couple of questions because, as I mentioned, we got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of questions. So these are a couple of the questions that I loved and I wanted to share with the rest of you. So Beth A says, my biggest issue is that I have to cook for 2 people that don't like to eat the foods that I like to eat. And I am busy most of the day and it wears me down. And I find myself going back to my old habits. What are the suggestions that you have for us or that you have for me? And my answer to Beth A would be that we know how hard habits are to break. And I know how hard my sugar habit was, and I fell off the wagon a whole bunch, and I had to support myself staying on track, and that was really probably the hardest part of the whole thing. But I could leave this webinar, obviously, and enjoy my evening and know that I have the tools that work for me. But this isn't about me, not even remotely. This is 100% about you. And so my goal is to give you the exact tools that I have that can help us stay on track. So it's simple, small switches that can allow us to put the power back in our own hands. And then once we have that power, then getting the momentum to be able to support our family and give them the things that they need, cook the meals that they want, but have the internal energy and the well-being that allows us to not have to fight those bad habits. Because when we're fighting a battle, then we're already losing, and it takes so much energy, and none of us have that energy. So it's about giving ourselves the momentum to really be able to achieve the goals that we want. The next question is from Allie, and it says, despite healthy meals, my cravings for junk begin late at night. I've heard this, I know this, I get it. When I'm trying to finish another 2 hours of paperwork before bed, Allie, God bless you for working so hard. And I know that everybody that's on this call, on this video, can relate to that feeling, right? Like our work sometimes feels like it's never done. But in order to work, you're telling me that you need coffees and cookies. And it doesn't matter what you do, you feel that hunger, you feel that craving. And why is that happening? And oftentimes that craving is just our addiction, what I was telling you about. And that's very different than a feeling of hunger. So you're not feeling hungry, you may not be getting the right amount of nutrition that you need, and you're feeding that hunger during the day with sugar, and ultimately the cravings are just taking over. So there are lots of ways to deal with those cravings. We've talked about a couple of them from the MCTs, and I'm going to give you so many more tools in Module 2 and in Module 3 to really help reduce and eliminate and kick those cravings out. So Module 1, again, you're going to be learning about how to detox your body. And then you're going to be getting into reducing those sugar cravings and that feeling of needing to go for the sugar by transforming from being a sugar burner into a body fat burner, which will give you that sustained energy late at night when you're trying to burn the candle at both ends, but it's not going to be draining your adrenals and creating more fatigue, which becomes a vicious cycle. And then, of course, in Module 4, we're going to get into being able to modulate and fast and then create that boundless energy. So I think as you go through the first 2 or 3 weeks, then you're going to be able to see the results where late at night, you're not going to be having those kind of cravings. So here's another one of the questions that I really love, and this comes from C. Carter. So I tried going keto while I was watching the 9-day seminar. Good for you. I was so excited I jumped in with both feet. I get it. So many people did. I can't even tell you how many people. In my own office, my CFO, my COO, and my head of finance, all 3 of them went headfirst into the 5-day water fast, and it was pretty remarkable, but I understand that desire to jump in. I went as keto as I possibly could, and I added a daily 18-hour fast on top of it. I think it was too much too fast, and I get that too. I felt absolutely awful. I know that there are potential side effects of sugar withdrawal, so I tried waiting it out, but after 7 days, I couldn't deal with it anymore and I backed off. I'm so sorry that you felt awful about that. Your question for me is, what do you recommend for sugar withdrawals and the carb flu symptoms? And that's what I recommend in really the Module 1. So the first thing I look to do is to give you the permission to get into keto. And so that's why we don't start until week number 3. So there's that deep focus on detox. And we could spend 9 modules on detox alone. But because I really captured the expertise from the world's leading experts in detox, we're able to, in that 1 week, get to the root cause of the detox process. So once your body is able to start detoxing, then when we go into week 2 and you're starting to get into what I would say is almost like a keto light, your body is becoming flexible, more and more flexible. Your metabolic system is starting to become flexible, so that in week 3, when you're getting into ketogenics, that is the week that you won't even feel the kind of experiences that you had. It won't be hard. You won't have that keto flu. And if you do, then we've done something wrong in the first 2 weeks, and the coaches are going to be there to hold your hand and really analyze what are all the different things that could be causing it and giving you the step-by-step answers so that you're not doing it alone. That's the key. The coaches and their hand holding and the closed and private Facebook community that you have, so you're able to troubleshoot and get through those processes, so that when you're into keto, instead I'm getting a note from you, Carter, that's saying, this is so awesome. I have more energy. I'm not feeling my cravings. And then I know that the modules and the course, the program is working for you exactly as I want it to be. So you're here and you've had such a journey with me over the past hour and a half plus, and now I'm really excited, and I want to congratulate you for all of your dedication and your ability to make these decisions really happen for yourself. And I think that we're going to have so much fun. So I want to take the time now to really go live with some of our questions, but before I do it, I have one more quick question that I thought was really important, and that was from Tony C. So it says, Tony C says to me, I am a 76-year-old woman who wants to repair my inflammation, but I don't want to lose weight. And would this program really work for me? And that's exactly the kind of question that I love to get, right? So this is a switch to better health. Weight loss can be a side effect of that, but this is about better health. So better health to you could mean many different things. And through the expertise of so many incredible researchers, practitioners, I mean, many of you ask me questions about, can I be a vegetarian and do keto? And the answer is yes. For those of you that watch Dr. Tony Bark, she talks about and utilizes a vegetarian form of ketogenics. And a lot of people get very confused because we think ketogenics is about, eating a lot of meat, and we have cravings because we're not getting enough of the good fats into our diet. But you can do it as a vegetarian, and that makes me very excited as well. So I want to open up the lines right now. If you're still on the fence and you have more questions for me, let's take some time and let's go through these questions. So thank you so much, and I'm excited to go live with you. So the first question, which I can't quite see from here, is, let's just see. We're going to make them a little bit bigger so I can go over them with you. Okay. This comes from Nancy, and it says, Naomi, my husband has been out of work since March, and I do not have that kind of money at this time. So what do I do for now? Okay, there are lots of things that you can do, but I know that we're offering the course in a couple of different payment plans. And so for those of you that don't want to spend or can't afford to spend the money right now in one shot, you can also do it in a 3-part installment plan. So I wanted to make it easier for you, and I hope that that helps a lot. So the next question is from Melinda, and thank you, Melinda Campbell. Tell me more about intermittent fasting. Does a cup of coffee break your fast? No, a cup of coffee doesn't break your fast. But the next part of the question is, how about tea? No, tea doesn't. But if you're adding different ingredients, like you may be adding MCT oil, which does, in fact, have an impact on your fast, right? So we know that MCT oil bypasses the digestive system. And so you can still be producing higher ketone bodies because, again, it helps you to produce more ketone bodies. But if you're putting things in like, butter or coconut oil, that does break your fast. And so that's a great question there. Here's another one. I've been doing keto. This is from Lori, and I'm focused and committed for about 3 months. Good for you, Lori. Since beginning, I have seen great changes, but, and here's a big but, after watching The Real Skinny on Fat, I realize that this can also help me with my hormones. Great point. 55 and menopause are not my friend, and I understand that too. And to be able to lose the last 15 pounds and to tone and tighten, I'm ready to really step up my game. I actually feel and believe that I can be in better health and shape than I thought possible, better than even in my 30s. And you know what, Lori? I believe that too. And not only do I believe that, but I cannot tell you how many experts, medical doctors, researchers, leading people who are in their mid-50s and have transformed their lives and are in the best shape and the best health of their lives by incorporating these principles. So I totally agree with you. I know you can do it, and there are lots of different stages of getting into this program. So as I mentioned, I've been doing it for about a year and a half, and I've always incorporated high-fat diets into my life. And what I've discovered is that there are, like I said, different stages, and you can hit different moments. So like at this moment for me, I'm needing to make sure that I'm taking high levels of minerals, and I'm also needing to take enzymes with each of my meals, or when I'm incorporating, high fat into my coffee. So there is a process that you go through as you really engage in this as part of your lifestyle. So I want to share some more questions. I want to just keep going through these one by one, each of the questions, and sharing them with you and giving you the answers. So I just brought it over here so I can see. This is from Kay Polt. Thank you, Kay. I'm on a 5-day fast. How much electrolytes should I be consuming? I am a female 57-year-old, postmenopausal, and I train for endurance events. Congratulations, that's remarkable. I swim, I bike, I run, and some strength training. I'm finishing my first day fast, and I had issues with electrolytes. I get that. I use base salt, Celtic salt, new salt, but obviously not enough. So there are some tools that you can incorporate that can also help you with the benefits from the electrolytes that you're doing. And I would love to share with you a resource guide on what those things could be. So it could be as simple as not just ingesting your electrolytes, but also taking the Epsom salt baths. Those can help a lot too. There are different forms of minerals that you don't need to just be taking in salts that can be really helpful during the fast. And so I think what's most important is that now that you've done your first fast, we need to analyze deeply what are the ways you can get those into your body and then incorporate them. So again, as I mentioned, you can take Epsom salt baths, but you can also use magnesium sprays during the course of your fast, and that can help a lot as well. The next one is from Diane. And thank you so much for writing. It says, hi, I love to hear about healthy nutrition and weight and would especially like to know more about dairy products. I heard about your research in Okinawa. Yes, I was in Okinawa many, many years ago with Dr. Will Cox and the incredible Okinawans that really incorporate so many interesting nutritional principles. So I'll share a little bit more about that. And the rest of the question is, I would like to know if adults and centenarians of this region drink milk often. Good question. Is milk without lactose a better option for adults if we want to limit our sugar? Anything to say about ice cream? Okay, great questions. So the first part of the question is, do the Okinawans drink milk? And I did not notice the consumption of milk while I was over there. I noticed that they were consuming a ton of green tea, a lot of different herbs. So like when they eat a salad for us may have lettuce. Their salad was all of these natural herbs. They ate pork. They ate a ton of ginger. But I didn't see the dairy products. Can we go back to that question, guys? But I didn't see the dairy products. And so what I would say around dairy, and this is something that Dr. Kate Shanahan speaks a lot about in her book, Deep Nutrition, is that we should all be eating like our maternal grandmothers. So for me, my maternal grandmother is French, and we eat a ton of dairy, a ton of cheese. And so my comment around drinking milk is you should really look to how your family, your ancestors have consumed or not consumed dairy. And if they did consume dairy, then the key to dairy, in my opinion, is to make sure that you're getting the cleanest source of dairy. So if the cows can be grass-fed, if you can go for the fermented forms of dairy that are most naturally fermented, unprocessed, and that's what I really look for. So that's a really important part about dairy. And when it comes to ice cream, Dr. Ken Ford, who is, he's an incredible PhD. He is the head of the Institute for Human and Brain Cognition. He has one of the best keto ice cream recipes, and I eat that in my home. And while he doesn't share that recipe, we can definitely share a very similar recipe, which incorporates eggs, it incorporates the different good fats, and no sugar. So I love ice cream. I eat it all the time, but it's got to be a good keto ice cream. So the next question is from Lisa, and it says, I would like a list of the supplements you use personally and where to buy them. Real Skinny on Fat has already changed my life. Yay, I'm so happy. Well, in the program, you're getting the real supplements that I use in my daily life, and I've chosen the brands that are the ones I like the most. So you're going to get that as part of this 9-week program. And if you're not doing the program, then of course you can go to my website. It shares with you the products and the nutritional supplements that I use. But Lisa, what I would want to share with you is that nutritional supplementation is not a static process. So as you go through the detox process in the first week of Module 1, the supplements that you'll be using will be different than what you'll be using in week 2 and in week 3. So it's not static, and it never is for me. So what I'm doing right now is different than what I was doing 3 months ago. Now, look, there are standard nutritional supplements that I incorporate into my everyday life, and they're a very small handful. They're less than 5. But as I'm going through different healings within my own body, I'm looking for different tools that can help me in that process. And the key to nutritional supplements that I've learned is about the quality of where they come from and how they're produced. So that's what I can really share with you more than anything, is an ability to understand if you're going to take a specific nutritional supplement, like let's say a fish oil, I'm going to be able to share with you after, 20 years of research where to get the fish oil that has been extracted and processed in a way that's going to work for your body versus something that may in fact damage you and damage your health or not even work. The next question is from Nancy. Nancy Dave, would you still recommend me reading your book, Glow 15? I'm way up in my years and need more help than you can imagine. Well, we're here to work and help you. Also, thank you for doing this all for us. It's my joy and it's my passion. I get really upset, and you could probably hear it through my own story when I feel like we've been tricked, or when I feel as though capitalism in this country has taken our health from us. And with the amount of people in our country that are overweight, that are obese, with the amount of people that are suffering from diseases, and really we've hit a tipping point, and we're going in the wrong direction. And I genuinely and deeply believe that the kind of suffering that we experience is not what we need to be or what we should be experiencing. And I think it's a side effect of the capitalism that we have in this country. And so my passion in the depth of my being is really around giving all of us the simple and easy tools to be able to make the right decisions so that our health doesn't have to become a full-time job. And so your question around, should you read Glow 15? I am obviously very passionate about the work that came to I was able to share through Glow 15. It took about 4 years of working with global researchers to build the Glow 15 program. And Glow 15 is all about the activation of the youth that exists within your cell. So if you're able to incorporate the understanding of that youth and then incorporate the principles of this program, that's everything that I do in my entire life. So Glow 15 really goes hand in hand with the Real Skinny on Fat and with this switch to better health, because every day I want you to be able to activate that natural cellular detox program that is something that you naturally do, and that is autophagy. So I absolutely believe that Glow 15 is a huge component of this program, and activating your youth is critical because it also helps you so much in achieving the results from just, becoming a body fat burner. So it all goes hand in hand. Elena asks a question, what are some of the best foods to eat following a 5-day water fast? Oh, this is an awesome question. Or even a 24 to 36 hour water fast. 24 to 36 hour water fast. And for either of those, so if you've done 24 hours, the best foods to eat as soon as you're breaking your fast are the good fats. So I like to start by eating an avocado. And if you don't like avocados, I like to go for olives. I really like to break a fast with olives. I break my fast with a bone broth. I think, something that's going to give your body the good minerals, the good fats, that's light, because, you haven't been digesting for 24 to, 5 days worth of time. So I like to always break my fast slowly, and I like to do it with fat first. Robin, I've totally been incorporating some of these ideas from fasting now once a week to MCT oils. You love your bulletproof coffee right now, and my doctor is on board with my new lifestyle. I love it. I hear that every day to help my approach to weight loss as well as other statistics. That's awesome. Thank you for continuing to share all of this information, and you're going to continue to follow. So Robin, I think you make a really good point that everyone should hear, and that is that your doctor is totally on board. So my CFO, Bill Stevens, he actually started a 5-day water fast when he was watching the test of the Real Skinny on Fat. So as we were getting ready to put it out there, he was watching it, and he went to his doctor. He was on tons of medication. He suffers from major autoimmune disorders, debilitating autoimmune disorders, and had about 75 plus pounds of excess weight on his body. And his doctor got totally on board with his 5-day water fast. He's now done 3, and his doctor has been involved in all of them. He went from taking many different medications. He's on 1 now, and his inflammation has gone so far down, you wouldn't even recognize him if you saw him. He's lost over 68 pounds. But what I love the most about his story is his doctor has been right there beside him, and he would have never done it had his doctor not agreed to it. So I think what we're seeing in this country is a movement toward all of the information that you got on the Real Skinny on Fat, and you're going to continue to get that kind of information. I mean, there's so much cutting edge information in each and every one of these modules that really hasn't been heard out there in the marketplace because it's right there in the universities. It's the kind of information that the professors and the scientists are utilizing themselves. And this is the information that I personally have total access to because this is what I've been doing for the past 20 years of my life. So I have what's like almost this unprecedented access to all of these experts. And my goal in the switch to your better health is to give you the experts that can help you to really get to your root of whatever it is that's holding you back from your switch to your better health, and then having you focus on that. So there may be one expert out of the 150 plus that will be incorporating into this program. That one expert is going to be applied to you personally to really help you get to that better health. So what we'll be able to do through the closed Facebook community is work with our nutritionists and dietitians to pinpoint what it is that may be holding you back. And then from there, say, okay, with all of these world-renowned experts, who is the researcher that can bring the most value? And then those would be the principles that will be applied to you as you're going through these 9 weeks. So I think there's just so much cutting edge information that I want to share with you, and it's all right there, and so much of it is in the Real Skinny on Fat, but it just continues. So your journey is pretty incredible. The next question is from Joan, and Joan says, I work really long hours on this program. Will I have the opportunity to view the information on my own time as well as talk to the coach other than at certain times? Absolutely. You know, Joan, what's so important to me when I was really going through the most stressful time in my life and I was using my coach was having that flexibility. Without flexibility, I've never been able to be successful. So it doesn't matter how good the information is. It doesn't matter how powerful the resources are. If it doesn't work in your schedule, it doesn't matter. So the flexibility is a key component to the kind of coaching that we have, which is why I have it there for you. So absolutely, and thank you for asking that kind of question, because that can really hold so many of us back from achieving the results that we want in our life because we just literally don't have the time. And that's why, you know, I addressed this idea of the sandwich person, because so many of us are going at 100 miles an hour and we're sandwiched, and we may be taking care of other people and we just get pushed smaller and smaller. And so this course is designed to give you the space to breathe and also to give you that competitive advantage that I've applied to my own life. Like, if you think about, I have 4 children. I have been a CEO and founder for my entire career. I work incredible hours, and I deal with autoimmune disorders within my own health, but because I have this kind of unbelievable access, I'm able to utilize these resources at all times, you know, of these researchers and these PhDs and these MDs, and that's what this course is all about, and that's what I want to be able to bring to you. So thanks for asking that question, because I know a lot of other people had it. So Mary asks us a question, and this is, after watching your fascinating series, thank you, Mary, I was super fascinated, and I continue to be so fascinated by the experts that were part of it. I see that among the incredible experts that you interviewed, there were several contradictory statements. Sure, not one size fits all, but some say keto is best with its good fats, no grains, and minimal healthy carbs, which is what you eat. And then others say do not eat all plants, such as nightshades. And still others say to eat fruit, rice, pasta, and whole grains. How can I take away the right advice for me? I am about to start my first prolong. Oh, that's very good. I was with Dr. Joseph Anton this past weekend, fasting mimicking diet this week. Mary, I just adore this question, and I want to talk to you and everybody else about it. So the question of not one size fits all is absolutely the case, which is why, you know, this is a docu-series with many different perspectives, but from incredible experts. And so the answer is going to be different depending on your unique and beautiful biology. And it can also be different at different times in your life. So the core theme that I would share with all of you is that there's something called pulsing. And what the researchers agree upon is that we don't want to do anything statically. So this pulsing process where you experience this metabolic flexibility is really what it's about. So for you right now, you were talking about no grains and minimal healthy carbs, which is what you eat, with the good fats. That's what I eat as well, because I suffer from autoimmune disorders. So for me, eating and focusing on high good fat is the absolute best for my personal biology at this point in my life. Now, I may be able to heal my inflammation and my mast cell activation to a point where I can incorporate some of these additional good carbs at a higher level. And that kind of flexibility is what I want to work toward, but I'm not there right now. Then the next question is, what about nightshades? So I personally can never eat nightshades because of the damage that they do to my own health. But there are other people, like for example, in Okinawa, where they do eat different nightshades, and that is something that is incorporated into many healthy cultures. So, again, it just depends on the individual and where you are in your own health journey. So that's why I want you to look at this information critically, and first and foremost, really get a sense of where you are with your own health, and then incorporate the principles that work for you and pay attention to what's working and what's not. And that's where the coaches can be really useful, because you're going to go through different levels of your own health. And you right now may not be able to even imagine where you'll be at the end of the 9 weeks, but I can. And I can tell you that once you reduce the toxicity that may have been lurking in your body for a very long time, and you improve the pathways, the detox pathways, that can unleash so many benefits that you may have never experienced, and you're at that next level. So the foods that you're eating may be able to be different at that point. So that's the theme of the answer to your question. It's about pulsing and incorporating different nutrients, different ways of living at different stages. The next question is from Annie. My friend has a bad case of eczema. I can relate. What should she do? Well, there's so many things that she should do. And eczema is, as I've talked to you about, it's just one of many of the autoimmune disorders that most likely your friend suffers from. So what I would recommend is that she really starts to he or she really starts to discover what autoimmune conditions are there. And for me, my root cause is much more about my mast cells. And so reducing that inflammation, eating an antihistamine diet. There's a world-renowned expert who's not a PhD, but who is really considered to be the best, and Dr. Joseph Anton, who is the CEO of the company of Prolong, the fasting mimicking diet that we were just talking about, mentioned this woman she's called the histamine chef, and you can Google her, and she's really, really powerful at the antihistamine diet. So eczema is just part of sort of a matrix of different issues, but there are great ways to reduce that inflammation, and I'm on that journey too, so I'd love to talk more about that. Next question is from Kate. Is it okay to drink the autophagy first thing in the morning on low days? I am loving the Glow 15 experience. Yay, Kate. So autophagy can absolutely be drank first thing in the morning on a low day, which is when you're activating your autophagy. But what I want to say about that is I don't want you adding the coconut oil or the MCT oil on your low day when you're drinking it while you're intermittent fasting. But once you are done with your intermittent fast and you're into your eating, then you can incorporate. So if you're just working into the low days and the first couple of days you want to drink the autophagy with MCT oil, then do it that way. But gradually, I would love for you to go just to the tea until you break your fast. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Oh, this is from Lori, from Lois. I'm so sorry. Hi, I am also a wellness explorer. Yay, let's take this journey together. I was first introduced to you through Dave's Bulletproof podcast radio, and I loved being with Dave on his program. I just love the passion and the dedication that Dave brings to the conversation in his life. It's absolutely awesome. I purchased your book right after. Thank you so much for doing that. And you're learning from this webcast. That makes me very happy as well. Thank you. Thank you so much for all of that. And I hope that we can continue to explore, not just our own wellness, but for me, what it means is going all over the globe and learning from not just the PhDs and the medical doctors and the experts, but also learning from the multi-generations of women who have been, for example, using citrus bergamot as a cholesterol, bad cholesterol reducer and the good cholesterol enhancer, or in their kitchen, every single day. Or when I was in Alaska with the local Inuits and understanding how good fat, if it's whale blubber, if it's seal blubber, and I know that sounds so incredibly shocking, but for them culturally, this is something that they use, the seal blubber, as their main form of energy. They don't use caffeine like we do to give us that little jolt of energy. So going to these different parts of the world and learning from these different individuals, their tools, their secrets, and being a mother of four and incorporating these things into my life and then sharing them with you is just the greatest privilege and joy. So I hope that you continue on this journey of exploring our wellness all over the globe. Okay, so the next question is from D. How do I know when I am metabolically flexible? Oh, I love it. I need help in cycling keto to add in and increase healthy carbs from time to time, like quinoa, sweet potatoes, and fruits other than the berry fruits. And I think, that's a really good question, D, because when you're metabolically flexible, when you can go between using glucose and using body fat and being able to burn both of those and having, the higher levels of ketones in your own body. So there are people that are metabolically flexible that can incorporate other fruits other than berries. And when they test their ketone levels and they start eating their good fats, they can get those numbers right back up. So I'll give you a perfect example. I knew I was metabolically flexible when, after 2 days of fasting, of water fasting, my ketone levels, when I took my Keto Mojo, were at about 3.4, right? And so I was able to get up to that high level very, very quickly. And then I could easily drink a glass of wine, I could eat some of the healthy carbs, and I would still feel good, and then quickly go back between the two different sources of my energy and my fuel. So going between the two easily and comfortably is when you know that you're metabolically flexible, and it takes time to get to that place, right? You first have to master your fuel being from fat, and once you get that mastered and it's really working and you feel good, then you can try going back to glucose and see how you feel, and you keep going back and forth until it's effortless. Next question is from Sam. I'm nearly 78 years old. I'm male and I'm on a strict keto diet for 2 weeks now. Great for you, Sam. That's really cool. You want to lose 40 pounds and you've already lost 13. Oh, you must feel like on top of the world. That's outstanding. But I'm weak, huh? What are you doing? What are you doing that's wrong? Well, 13 pounds in 2 weeks is too fast, right? So I know on keto, a lot of times we're just blowing through the weight, and that can be exciting and overwhelming as well. So Cheryl left a good note here, and that's to incorporate electrolytes, and you can do that through adding the sodium, adding the salt to all of your meals. I would also really make a focus around getting enough of the good vegetables, because you need those phytonutrients as well, and making sure that perhaps you slow down a little bit, right? You don't have to be strict, and you shouldn't feel weak. That's not where you want to feel. So I would probably pull back a little bit. My philosophy is always to slow down a bit, give our bodies a chance. It's really quite remarkable at 78 years old that you've embraced this principle. Well, yes, our ancestors did it, but 2 weeks is a very short period. So pull back. Perhaps eat some of the healthy carbs, like the sweet potatoes and the different good carbohydrates, and then go from there. And let's see how that is. And I really want to hear from you. But again, if you were to incorporate the detox process and then really look at how to become metabolically flexible and then embrace the high levels of keto, I think you'll feel the boundless, powerful energy that you want to, and you'll lose that additional pounds that you want to. So good for you. You're doing things right, but you just need to slow down a little bit. So it's almost 11:30 on the East Coast here, and I'm going to answer one more question. So I want to just do that. And, you know, your questions are so important, and your well-being is so important, and every moment of our life is precious. So I really hope that this gave you some incredible tools to continue on with your journey. And I'm ecstatic about those of you that are going to be joining me on the 9-week program of your switch to better health. I think it's something that we have worked so hard to perfect, and I hope that it's going to just completely blow your mind, transform your well-being, and give you everything that you're looking for. And I think with the amount of researchers and the thoughtfulness that's gone into this program, if it's right for you with the coaching, then it can really give you that transformation in your own life. So I'm looking forward to joining all of you on that journey. The last question I'm going to answer is from Colleen, and I want to answer every single one of them, my friends. I absolutely do. And this question is, with a ketogenic eating plan, raise my total cholesterol. I am interested in raising my total cholesterol above 150 from a lifetime level in the low 130s. My goal is to improve and avoid indications of brain atrophy, which indicate higher risk of Alzheimer's. That is a very, very powerful question. And Dr. Kate Shanahan talks a lot about what it really means, what our cholesterol numbers really mean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end these questions and answers with a solution around sending all of you an interview that I did, or actually that one of our team members did with Dr. Kate Shanahan on this particular question, because I think it deserves quite a bit more time. So you're going to be getting that tomorrow. We'll send that out to you. And this was such a joy. I can't thank you enough. And I hope you have a wonderful evening and we continue on this journey together.